Good morning.
All rise. Municipal Court for the City of Boulder is now in session. The Honorable Judge Jeff Vaughn presiding.
Be seated. Thank you. Okay, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, you are here for an arraignment session for the Boulder Municipal Court. The purpose of this session is to assist you in deciding how you wish to proceed with your case. You have the following rights before this court. You are presumed innocent of the charges against you. That presumption of innocence remains with you until you either plead guilty or are found guilty at trial. It is the prosecution's burden to prove each charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to hire and be represented by an attorney of your own choosing. If you'd like a brief continuance of your case so that you can contact your own lawyer, please let me know that when I call your case forward. If you are facing a jail sentence for your charge and you are unable to afford your own attorney, you might be eligible for public defender representation. If you'd like to be considered for that representation, please let me know that today. We'll have you fill out some paperwork to see if you qualify. Throughout this case, you have the right to remain silent. No one can force you to make any statements about the charges against you, and any statement that you make must be a voluntary one. We do have a recorder running here today. The statements that you and I are making are being recorded. Your statements could be introduced at trial if your case were to go to trial. If your case goes to trial, you'll have the right to testify or not testify at the trial. You also have the right to cross-examine the witnesses against you, and you have the right to call witnesses on your own behalf. If you request them, our court clerks can issue you subpoenas that you can have served on your witnesses to make sure that they attend court. And you have the right to appeal the decisions of this court to a higher court. To do that, you would need to file a written notice of appeal in the Boulder County District Court. That's just down the hall here at 6th and Canyon. And that would have to occur within 35 days of final action by our court. The maximum penalty that our court can impose does vary depending on the type of charge that you're facing. If you're facing a traffic infraction like speeding or failing to stop at a stop sign, something of that nature, then the maximum penalty is up to a $500 fine. There's no possibility of jail for that type of charge. If you're facing a more serious charge like reckless driving or failing to have evidence of insurance, those are considered traffic offenses. The maximum penalty for a traffic offense is up to a $2,650 fine and up to a 90-day jail sentence. I want to assure everyone, no one's going to jail today. I've never imposed a jail sentence in a traffic case. I won't be doing that today. I'm required by Supreme Court rule to tell you about the authority that I have, and that's why I do that. But I don't even get close to the $500 fine amount, and I don't impose jail on traffic cases. So I don't want you to be worried about that. As far as our process goes, in just a few moments, I'll be calling cases individually. When I call your name, if you'll come forward and stand at the lectern that's just next to the prosecutor's desk, I will tell you about the charges against you. I'm also going to check your file to see if you're eligible for one of the plea bargain offers from the prosecutor's office. They allow me to tell you about their offer so that the process can go more quickly and smoothly for people. If you want to accept one of those offers, you have the option of doing that today without even speaking with the prosecutor. And that's one way to proceed with your case. You also have the option of pleading not guilty to the charges against you and sending your case over for trial. And in addition, you have the option of speaking with the prosecutor this morning if you'd like to talk to one of them about your case. If you set your case for trial, your trial will be on another date. It'll be a trial in front of a judge, which is likely to be me, unless you're facing one of those possible sentences that involve a jail sentence. And if that's the case, even if I'm not going to impose a jail sentence, because of the type of charge that it is, you do have the right to have a jury trial if you would prefer that. In order to secure your right for a jury trial in a municipal court, you're required to make a written request for a jury and pay a $25 jury fee within 21 days of the date that you first plead not guilty. I can waive that jury fee for you if I determine that you're not able to pay the fee. But if you haven't made a written request for a jury trial and either paid the jury fee or asked me to waive it within that 21-day period, then you will have given up your right to a jury trial and your trial will be in front of a judge. So those are basically the options that you have. If you have questions about your rights or about the court process, feel free to ask those questions and I'll be happy to answer them for you.
All of our photo work by Zoom.
And let's start with Brian Schmidt, who might be appearing by Zoom video. Mr. Schmidt, if you'll unmute your microphone and enable your video.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Schmidt, we have one charge for you. It's alleged to have been detected by photo enforcement equipment. The allegation is that you failed to obey a red signal, and this was at Baseline Road and 27th Way on August 6th. You have the right to speak with a prosecutor this morning. If you'd like to do that, you could also plead guilty or plead not guilty to the charge. What would you like to do?
I was going to ask for a dismissal. I spoke with one of my attorneys, and they said that if to watch the video, if I could go to. I actually went to the courthouse. They advised me to go to the courthouse and ask for a dismissal because we watched the video, and the way she explained to me how the law is written, that by the video I wasn't, I guess, not guilty by the charge, but that's what I was, I guess, here for in court today to ask for a dismissal, but I guess it would be a not guilty.
Okay. Well, would you like to, we've got Ms. Keller standing. Ms. Keller is the prosecutor. So Ms. Keller, would you like to share some information here?
Yes, Your Honor. I've reviewed this one this morning, and I do agree with Mr. Schmidt and his attorney. It does appear that he was in the crosswalk at the time the light turned. So I agree that this one should be dismissed. I'll go ahead and dismiss it in the system as well.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ms. Keller. So, Mr. Schmidt, your charge is being dismissed by the prosecutor, and so you are free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you.
Have a good day.
You do as well. Thank you.
And we'll next call Karen Hirsch. Ms. Hirsch is also appearing by Zoom video on a photo enforcement charge. Good morning, Ms. Hirsch. I'm not hearing you. Oh, there we go. I can hear you now. Okay, good. And I think I had, is it the last name, is it Simone? Is that your first name is actually Simone?
Well, the ticket went to my mom, but I was the one driving.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. So, Simone, is your last name also Hirsch?
Yes.
Okay. So if, with your permission, we'll change the name on the ticket to you. Is that how you'd like to proceed here?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you also have a failure to obey red signal charge alleged to have occurred at 28th and Canyon on August 4th of 2023. You have the option of speaking with the prosecutor this morning. You could also plead not guilty to the charge or plead guilty to the charge. What would you like to do?
I'd like to speak with the prosecutor, please.
All right. And that'll be Ms. Keller. So you're going to get an invitation, Ms. Hirsch, to join a breakout room with Ms. Keller. That'll come across your screen in just a moment. If you'll click on that, that'll take you to the private area where you can speak with her about the case.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And let's call William Tompkins next. Mr. Tompkins, if you'll unmute your microphone and enable your video.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Mr. Tompkins, the charge for you is failing to obey a red signal at 28th and Arapahoe on August 12th of 2023. How would you like to proceed today?
I would also like to ask for dismissal as my two front tires were past a crosswalk. There's no signage stating that it's a red light. I was not giving the citation in person, and who knows what the calibration on those lights are.
Okay, so it's up to the prosecutor to decide how they would like to proceed with the case. I can't dismiss it without a full trial to allow the prosecution to put evidence on for me to consider that. But if you'd like to speak with the prosecutor this morning, you could do that.
Yes, please.
All right, and that'll be Mr. Reynolds, is that correct? All right.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Tompkins, Mr. Reynolds is looking at your case. He's gonna go to a breakout room on this
I
one?
will. I'm just logging into Zoom right now.
Okay, sounds good. So in just a moment, Mr. Tompkins, you're going to get an invitation to join the breakout room with Mr. Reynolds. He can discuss the case with you. And then after you've had that conversation, we'll have you come back into the courtroom.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Pratarod Tamang. Yes, sir, if you'll come forward. Oh, sure, if you'd like to come forward, that would be helpful. And I'll ask the gentleman to Mr. Tamang's left. Sir, what language will you be interpreting for today?
For Nepali,
Nepalese? Okay. And if you can give me your name,
myself Kamal Sa,
can you spell that for me?
Kamal
And what's your last name?
Sa, SHAH.
SHAX? Thank you, sir. And you say that Shah?
Sa.
Shah. Mr. Shah, can you let Mr. Tamang know that if he would like a professional interpreter, we could get one on the line here in a few minutes?
One what? Sorry?
Can you let him know that if he wants a professional interpreter, someone who's trained to interpret, we could get someone on the telephone for him to do that for him if you would like?
No, I don't want.
He wants you to do it for him?
Yeah.
In a traffic case, I'm willing to do that because no one's going to jail or anything of that nature. So what I'll ask you to do, Mr. Shah, is to interpret line by line. So I'll say some words, and then if you can interpret those as literally as you can. Does that make sense? Word for word. Can you do that? Great, thank you. Mr. Tamang, the charge for you is failing to obey a traffic control device. In Colorado, that's a 4-point traffic infraction. The prosecutor is offering to reduce it from 4 points to 2 points.
Yes. Yeah, he's good.
Would you like to do that? Okay, let me go ahead and accept the guilty plea. It will be to a 2-point charge of driving a defective vehicle. If you'll repeat that. And that allegedly occurred on August 23rd of 2023 at 28th and Mapleton.
Yes.
How do you plead to that charge? Guilty or not guilty to the 2 points?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes, I'm really so sorry.
Thank you. would you like to tell me anything about the case?
No, he's,
I'm going to be looking at your driving record and the accident report. Tell me.
tomorrow driving report is going there. Oh, okay, accident.
Thank you, Greg.
He has a clear Colorado history.
And Greg was telling me that you have a clear record in Colorado,
Clear the person like something.
so that's a good thing. Our record will reflect that you pled guilty to the 2-point charge. Because of the good driving record, I'm going to set the fine at $120. And there are $30 in court costs. So the total balance is $150. Can you pay that today? Okay, I'll send you right out front. They'll take care of that with you in just a moment. Thank you both. Thank you for the help today, sir.
Thanks.
And Ms. Keller has returned to the courtroom, so we'll go ahead and recall the Karen or Simone Hirsch case. Ms. Hirsch spoke with Ms. Keller. Go ahead, Ms. Keller.
Yes, Your Honor. I've spoken to Ms. Hirsch, and this one was a fairly close call. However, Ms. Hirsch did explain to me that she was worried about having some issues with her brakes and worried about being able to safely stop the vehicle. Since this one was such a close call, and Ms. Hirsch has taken her vehicle in for subsequent repairs, I'll be agreeing to dismiss this violation and dismissing it in the system as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Keller. All right, Ms. Hirsch, you are free to go. Thank you for appearing today.
Thank you.
And John, is it Bonica?
Yes, sir.
Sir, if you'll come forward.
So he has provided insurance, but he does have the warrant for this issue.
All right, I'll take a quick look at it. Good morning, sir. And let me just pull up the case that I've got here. So back on July 29th, you received a summons for failing to have evidence of insurance. And then that you were scheduled for a court date. When you didn't come to court, we ended up having to issue a warrant because it was a no proof of insurance charge, which is criminal.
I'm sorry, sir. I spaced out. I have brain injury from an accident.
I'm sorry.
And I can't remember getting anywhere on time. It's a problem, but I'm here.
I'm glad you've made it here. And what I've looked at is in the file here is that you did provide proof of insurance. So just give me a moment, but I think it's a little bit blurry on what we've got here. But were you able to look at that, Greg? Was anybody able to confirm what it?
I believe Candy did when she entered it.
Okay. So we've established that you had insurance, so
Yes.
that charge is going to be dismissed. And there's some fees that get assessed in connection with not appearing in court. I always have empathy for people who have suffered brain injuries. I know how difficult that can be. So I'm going to waive some of those fees. I'm going to leave it with just a $30 balance for you to pay, which is a failure to appear fee. And I'm going to waive the warrant fee for you
Thank
and
you,
the
sir.
court costs. Can you pay the $30 today?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm just going to send you out front. Your other charge is being dismissed. So you don't have anything on your record for the case. It'll just be the $30 failure to appear fee. All right. And if you'll just go out front, they'll collect that payment from you and get you on your way.
Thank you, sir. I
Thank you for
appreciate
appearing.
it. I'm sorry I lost that form and didn't have it with me.
That's okay. I appreciate you getting it to us and you've taken care of it now. So
And sir, may I say, I did have insurance coverage the whole time. I wouldn't put myself or anybody else in that type of a liability situation.
I appreciate that. That's really an important thing to do, and I'm glad you did.
Thank you.
Thank you. They'll be with
Go out and pay.
right out front. They'll collect the $30 from you and get you on your way.
Thanks. You guys are very nice and helpful.
Good.
Thank
I'm
you,
glad to hear
everybody.
that. Thank you.
You're very helpful too.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Guillermo Quinones Medrano. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Mr. Quinones Medrano, the charge for you is failing to obey a traffic control device, which is a 4-point charge. A number of different ways for you to proceed today. One would be to accept a plea bargain from the prosecutor. There are 2 options that she's made available. One would be to reduce that from 4 points to 2 points, and there would just be a fine. A second option would be to reduce it from 4 points to a 1-point charge if you were willing to take an online traffic class. The online traffic class is something you do separate from the court process. They charge you a $60 fee to take the class, and it takes 2 to 4 hours to complete the class. But that's an option for you. You also have the option of speaking with this prosecutor this morning if you'd like to discuss the case with her.
Yeah, well, I want to watch the video because I know I didn't pass that red light like the officer said.
I don't know if there is a video on this one, but you can certainly.
He said that I could, the officer, when he pulled me over, he said that I could go fight it in court because he had it on video. And I told him I stopped on 30th, took the
Okay,
yellow left, and then he said I was lying.
okay, so,
So he said it was a video, so I came here to watch the
right,
video.
and it looks like in his notes that it says it was caught on a vehicle, it says vehicle camera available. It may not be available this morning, that's the challenge, I don't know. So let me tell you how it works. When we have arraignment, which is today's first date for everybody to come. This is the first court date, so we don't have all of the evidence that's here for what might be a trial. The prosecutor can secure that. If there is a video, she can get that and share it with you.
Can we get
She
that?
won't be able to do it this morning.
That's fine.
But if you'd like to reset and then, or if you want to take a brief minute to talk to her first and you can arrange for her to share that information with you, that might be a helpful first start for you. You want to do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, would you be willing to speak with him about that, Ms. Keller? Thank you. We'll next call Brett Gardner. Good morning, Mr. Gardner. All right, Mr. Gardner, the charge for you is a charge of speeding 1 to 4 miles per hour over the speed limit. Okay, I was just having to read that to pause for a moment. I think it should be 1 to 5. Is that right? Or is it 1 to 4? Is it 1 to 5? It's a 1-point traffic infraction. I just don't see it written very often. 1 point, or is it, do you say 0 point? It's a 0 point, 1 to 4. Okay, so 5 to 9 is the 1 point. Okay, I don't see much of either of those. Okay, so this is a 0-point infraction. And so there's no plea bargain offer that's available because it's 0 points that would be assessed against your privilege. And in fact, we don't even send those down. Do we, Greg? Can we send
0
that
point
down?
charges are not reported.
Won't be accepted or reported to the Department of Motor Vehicles. So it would only remain here. If you plead guilty, there'll be a fine associated with it. You could also speak with a prosecutor this morning if you'd like to discuss the case with one of them. They're both busy with others right now, but it shouldn't take long to have that conversation. Or you could plead not guilty and set the charge for trial. How would you like to proceed?
I would like to plead guilty, Your Honor.
You want to plead guilty to that charge? It will be to a 0-point charge of speeding, and it'll be 24 miles per hour in a posted 20 mile per hour zone. Just take a quick look and make sure I've got that right. And to make it what was written by the officer, I'm going to make it 24 in a 20 mile per hour zone. This allegedly occurred on August 20th of 2023 at the 1000 block of Regent Drive. How do you plead to that charge?
I plead guilty.
I'll accept the guilty plea. It is to the 0-point charge. I was pausing that because I think sometimes what the officers will do is either out of error or because they decided to write you for a lesser charge, you ended up getting charged with something that wasn't exactly what they wrote up. They had written in their notes a 30 mile per hour speed that you've been clocked at, but you were only cited. That's a 4-point charge, but they only cited you for the 0-point charge. So that's why I was pausing there. But I'll take a quick look at your driving record. And it looks like it's your first ticket in Colorado, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, I'm gonna set the fine at $70 and there are $30 in court costs, so we'll leave you with $100 to pay. Are you able to pay that today?
Yes.
All right, so I'll put some notes in for our staff. And then I'm just gonna send you right out front. They'll collect the $100 and get you on your way.
Sounds good. Have a good day.
You too. Give me just a moment, Mr. Reynolds, and I'll be ready.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Tompkins, who I believe has joined us on Zoom. He had a photo red light violation, and we went over the video and the images. He had some questions about the legality of this system, and I explained how they are authorized by state law, and there's some kind of special considerations such as there are no points associated with it, doesn't get reported to DMV, there are no court costs. So I kind of went over that with him, so I hope that was kind of a useful conversation to have. But at the end, we're going to be recommending a reduced fine here of from $75 to $45. Mr. Tompkins has a bit of a strained financial situation right now. He also has a very good driving record, and even though this wasn't close enough for us to dismiss as kind of a warning, it also wasn't particularly dangerous. So with all that being said, we would be recommending the reduced fine here.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Reynolds. All right, so Mr. Tompkins, if you plead guilty to this charge, then I would be setting the fine at $45 and there are no court costs. Is that what you'd like to do?
Yes, sir.
Now, let me go ahead and accept that guilty plea. It is to the charge of failing to obey a red signal at 28th and Arapahoe on August 12th of 2023. How do you plead to that charge?
Guilty.
I'll accept that guilty plea. I am going to go ahead and set the fine at $45. Greg will do that in the system. And then, Mr. Tompkins, if you can wait about an hour, do you still have your ticket, your citation that was mailed to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. At the top right corner, it has a notice number and a PIN number in the website. It takes about an hour or so for those folks to update their website once we put in a new fine amount, which will be $45. But if you'll wait about an hour and then go to that website, you can pay and close your case that way.
Okay. I'll do it when I get home from work today.
Okay. And if you have any difficulty, give us a call and we can take the payment over the phone.
All right. Great. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tompkins. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
And Ms. Keller has returned, so let's go ahead and recall the
It could very well be,
Quinones
but they're not responding.
Padron. Okay, so sir, if you come back forward.
Yes, Your Honor. So what we've decided to do is set this out for about 2 weeks, so I'm able to obtain the footage, and then we can go from there.
All right, that makes good sense to me as well. So as I mentioned, sir, she's going to obtain that if there is video footage, which the officer did put in his notes that there is, so there should be something for you to look at. The prosecutor can share that with you the next time you come back to court, hopefully even before then, if she is able to digitally send it to you, then it'll work that way for you to look at it. But we will give you another court date for you to come back. Does that make sense? Okay. And we'll set you out about 2 to 3 weeks. Should I send them out to the counter for that?
Yes, sir.
So, sir, I'll just send you right out front. One of our clerks will get you that new court date.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Jacqueline Papiers? That's fine. Good morning. How do you say your last name?
Appears.
Papiers, okay, good. Ms. Papiers, there's one charge for you. It's a charge of failing to yield when making a left turn. which is a 3-point charge. There are two options for you to consider. One would be to reduce that from 3 points to 1 point. The second option would be to reduce it from 3 points to a 0-point charge of failing to wear a seatbelt if you were willing to take the online traffic class. And you heard me describe that a few minutes ago to another defendant.
You said failing to wear a seatbelt?
Yeah, that's what it would be changed to. That can be confusing to people.
Sorry, she suffered a massive concussion during that. That's
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Because yeah.
Things are still a little fuzzy.
They are. I'm working with a doctor at.
Good. I'm glad you are. I'm sorry that happened. That's pretty difficult. But yes, the charge will be changed all the way to a 0-point charge, and that's going to be called failing to wear a seatbelt. You would be expected to take the online traffic class as part of that plea agreement. So that's one way to go. If you didn't want to take the class, you could still have a plea offer. It would just be to reduce to a 1-point charge instead of a 0-point charge.
Yeah, of course. Taking the class.
You want to do the 0-point with the class? All right. So the charge will be changed. It'll be called failing to wear a seatbelt. Obviously not what you did, but that's how the points get reduced.
Okay.
That allegedly occurred August 3rd of 2023 at Arapahoe and 55th. How do you plead to that charge?
Guilty.
I'll accept the guilty plea. And I'm really sorry that you ended up with a concussion on this. The officer said you had a good attitude at the scene so that you were still able to.
I don't remember him at all. I don't remember anything, so
Yeah.
I'm glad he was nice.
I'm not surprised that that's the case for you. Is there anything else that either of you'd like to share with me before I set the fine?
The only thing is that right now they're going through financial hardship. They had to deal with bankruptcy and that even today, I don't know if we could even push the payment just a little bit. And so that when our paychecks come in at the end of the month, I don't know if that's possible or not.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we could definitely give you some time, and I'll take into account the financial circumstances. There's a $60 expense associated with the class. They charge you that fee when you sign up, so you'll have that. And I do take that into account when I'm thinking about fines as well. And I also think about the fact that the fines are impacting people individually. So your fine is going to be a little bit lower than the typical fine in this case. It's going to be a $100 fine. There are $30 in court costs. If you need some time to pay that, I can give you some time to pay.
That would be great if you could, sir.
Okay, we're going to make the fine due the same time as the class, which will be 3 to 4 weeks from now.
Fantastic.
And how do I access the class?
They're going to give you a link. They're actually going to email to you a link to the class. And if you wanted to share an email with them for your email as well, so you both get it, that would be helpful so that you can kind of make sure that it works properly. Okay, so what we'll do here then is we'll give you a due date, and that'll be out front. We'll send you out front. They're going to give you a due date for the class and for payment of your fines and costs. If you get the class completed and you get the certificate, you just email that certificate back to us, and then we'll have it in the file. And you can either go online and pay your fine prior to that date, or you can call the court and we can accept the payment over the phone. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll waive the stay fee, Greg, just for the record. Any other questions for me?
Oh, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your
Good luck. I hope you recover soon.
Me too. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. Thank you,
Take
sir.
care.
Have a good morning.
You too. Mohammed Elatwil Abdallah. Good morning, sir. I think I may have said that wrong. Is it Abdallah Elatwil? Yeah. Is that correct? I had the first name a little bit confused there, but I think I've got it right now. Mr. Elatwil, the charge for you is making an improper lane change, which is a 3-point charge. Because you are a CDL holder, we can reduce the points, but we can't change the charge. So you're still eligible to have this reduced to a 1-point charge. It would still be called making an improper or unsafe lane change. The rules against anti-masking under federal laws prohibit the court or the prosecutor from changing the name of a charge that gets sent down to the Department of Motor Vehicles. So you may have been aware of that, I don't know, but that's a law that applies to people who have a commercial driver's license. So you do have the option of having the points reduced. You could also speak with the prosecutor this morning if you'd like. How would you like to proceed today?
Yeah, I would like to talk to her.
All right. All right. And Mr. Reynolds will have a conversation with you.
Later rather by Zoom.
Eric Rudder.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Rudder, the charge for you is speeding 95 miles per hour in a posted 60 mile per hour zone. That's a 6-point traffic offense. I don't have a standard plea bargain offer to share with you from the prosecutor's office. You could still have a conversation with one of our prosecutors if you'd like to do that.
I would like to do that.
Okay. And will that be you, Ms. Keller? So if you'll go with Ms. Keller, she'll discuss the case with you. Charles Schwartz.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Schwartz. And Mr. Schwartz, there are 2 charges pending. There's a charge of failing to have evidence of insurance, which is a 4-point charge. And then there's a charge of failing to yield before entering the street, which is a 3-point charge.
I don't have proof of insurance.
We do not yet have proof that the vehicle was insured, but if you have that proof with you, you
I
can
had
share.
insurance. There had been some kind of with Geico. They couldn't tell me why there was a lapse. I never got a notice about it, but I've been with them for decades and I don't understand why. I didn't get a notice or anything in the mail. They've gone kind of paperless and that's what I'm used to. I'm kind of old school. But I've always had insurance, and it was a shock that I didn't have insurance because I didn't have it in the glove box, and I was shocked. And even when I called, that they're like, that it's lapsed.
Let's take a
And
look.
as far as that, I'm a first responder. I've been a first responder since 2009. I drive ambulances and fire trucks on a regular. I would never pull in front of an officer. It looked like there was plenty of room. There was a stop of the intersection was at a complete stop. I was coming slowly out of a gas station. To me, it completely is as far as judgment to judgment from first responder to first responder. He had plenty of time. I didn't think I impeded him in any way, shape, or form. I apologized to him at the time, but I didn't think that I failed to yield in any way, shape, or form. And I'd either talk to a prosecutor or something like that, or take a trial. I don't want to hurt my future ability to drive or be with another fire department or anything else. I'm a good driver.
So we've got prosecutors who are available, so that's a possibility as well. Let me just tell you what's going to happen with the insurance. First of all, I was looking at it because it wasn't an accident. The prosecutor's policy is to dismiss the insurance charge, even though you technically didn't have it that day since you have proof now. So if you could share that proof with Nick, he can upload that in the system. That way I can show the prosecutors why I'm dismissing that charge. So the insurance charge will be dismissed. And then, Mr. Schwartz, that leaves you with the other charge that you were describing, the 3-point charge. I'll just tell you what the standard offers are from the prosecutor, and then you can decide if you want to have a conversation with him. One option would be to reduce it from 3 points to 1 point. There's a second option to reduce it to a 0-point charge of failing to wear a seatbelt, which does not get reported to DMV, and that would require that you attend the traffic class. So although it would be a 0-point charge, you still have a fine and the traffic class to complete, but it wouldn't go on your record. So those are a couple of options if you wanted to go forward right now. But if you'd rather wait for a few minutes and speak to a prosecutor, you also have that option.
What do you think? Well, more than likely, that's exactly what the offers that they're going to give.
I can't speak for them.
This as far as it looked like there was plenty of room for officers.
I can't speak for the prosecutors. If you wanted to take an extra 10 or 15.
Sure, I'll take a few minutes.
Okay, I can't guarantee it, but it might be worth the 10 to 15 minutes.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time.
All right, and as soon as one is available, we'll get them with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Maria Kinsey. Good morning, Ms. Kinsey. Ms. Kinsey, there's one charge for you. It's a charge of failing to yield before entering a street. Just like when I was speaking to the last gentleman, the same offer is available to you. It could be reduced to a 1-point charge or to a 0-point charge with the traffic class.
I'll take the traffic.
Want to do the 0 point with the traffic class? All right, so the charge that you'll plead guilty to is going to be called failing to wear a seatbelt. That's a violation of section 7232 of the Boulder Revised Code, allegedly occurring August 25th of 2023 at 27th Way and Broadway. How do you plead to that 0 point charge?
Guilty.
I'll accept the guilty plea. You had a good attitude with the officer, so I appreciate that. Anything else, Ms. Kinsey, that you'd like me to know before I set the fine?
I don't know. Do I still pay the ticket though?
Yeah, I'm going to set a fine for you in just a moment. Give me a minute to do that. So because you're going to spend some money on the class, I'm reducing the fine a little bit. And our record's going to reflect that this went down as a 0 point charge. So nothing will be sent to DMV. Your fine is going to be, let me take a quick look at your driving record first. Greg can pull that up for me. Thank you, Greg. A good clear record. So I'm going to set the fine at $100. There are $30 in court costs. So you'll have $130 to pay the court, and then you'll have the class to complete. Does that make sense to you? Any questions for me?
No, thank you.
All right, I'll send you out front. They're going to collect the payment, and then they're going to give you information about that class. When you go to the class, you'll get a certificate. You'll email that back to us before the court date that they give to you. All right, thank you. Have a good day. Sounds like they're right next door.
I think so.
Are they below or? And let's call Dante Vega. Mr. Vega is appearing on video, so feel free to unmute your microphone and enable your video if you will, sir. Good morning. I can't hear you, so I'm not sure if you've got your microphone enabled. You're muted now, so it may, and when you were unmuted before, I don't think I could hear you. So if you'll unmute again, and then you may need to do some work to make sure you got the right microphone set up on your, if it's a phone you're using.
This is a service fee also, Your Honor.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes, good, thank you. All right, so Mr. Vega, the charge for you is a charge of speeding 35 miles per hour in a posted 25 mile per hour zone. There's a $40 fine for that charge if you plead guilty. There's also a served in person fee that's been added. That's a $60 served in person fee. Sometimes people want to talk about the underlying offense. Sometimes they want to talk about that extra $60 fee, or sometimes they want to talk about both. If you'd like to discuss the case with the prosecutor, you have the option of doing that this morning. There's one other person in front of you, so maybe a 10-minute or so wait to speak with one of them, but you do have the option to do that. You could also simply plead guilty to the charge, and then we could discuss the served in person fee as well as the fine, or you could plead not guilty and set it for trial.
So how much would the fine be so it's 60 and 40, right? Basically, if I plead guilty.
It could be if there's a good explanation for why you didn't respond to the written notices. Sometimes I can reduce that $60 fee, but it depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, I kind of didn't realize that I got one in the mail. I had to fix my situation with where I live with my mailbox. Actually, come to think of it, I wasn't receiving mail for a little bit, because I had to go to the post office for whatever reason and write down my name and my address at the post office so they know that I live at this location.
So if you decided to plead guilty, I would cut that fee in half to $30. So you'd have a total of $70 to pay if you decided you wanted to go that route. You could also speak with a prosecutor if you'd like, or you could simply set the case for trial.
Yeah, I could. I'll go at the $70 route. That's fine because.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and accept the guilty plea then. It will be to the charge of speeding 35 miles per hour in a posted 25 mile per hour zone at the 3100 block of Folsom. How do you plead to that charge, sir?
Guilty.
I'll accept the guilty plea. I'll set the fine at $40. I'm going to reduce the served in person fee to $30. And that'll leave you a $70 balance. Do you still have the notice of violation that was given to you?
The paper.
Yeah, do you still have this document that I'm holding up? Can you see it?
Sorry, let me switch over to your side real quick.
I can put it in the chat, Tom.
Yes, I believe I do. I only have one. I think I gotta find it, but I do. I think I do have like one. Yeah.
Well, if you're not sure if you have it, Nick's gonna put in the chat, the notice number
Okay.
and the pin. It'll be notice and pin, and then also the website for him to go to, Nick.
Okay.
So Nick's gonna put that in the chat for you, the web address and your notice number and then the pin number. You'll plug in that notice number, and it's a fairly long number, but you'll plug that into the system once you go to the website. Wait about an hour to do that because it takes a while for the balance to update that we're changing from $100 to 70. But then you can go in and simply pay that online. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that does make sense. Yes, sir.
Okay. If you have any problems or issues, give the court a call and we can collect the payment over the phone.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So I would say wait an hour, then go into that website, and then you can pay it off and close this up.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you for appearing, Mr. Vega.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
All right. You too. I don't see that we have anybody else waiting to speak with me, just people waiting to speak with our prosecutor. So I'll step away, and then Nick, obviously, we've got Mr. Schwartz waiting once we have a prosecutor available.
Okay.
Okay. Anything you need me for? could be seated. Thank you all. Okay, we're back on the record and Ms. Keller has returned. Go ahead, Ms. Keller.
Yes, Your Honor. I've spoken with Mr. Rutter. It's my understanding that he's going to plead to a 2-point defective vehicle charge and take the level 2 traffic class.
All right, so we'll be resetting this case. Is that what you've advised him? Okay. Whenever the prosecutor reduces more than their standard amount for a level 2 class or something of that nature, we reschedule the case for the person to complete the class first. She's probably described that process to you, Mr. Rutter. So we'll give you a court date about 4 to 5 weeks from now. And then as long as you've gotten that level 2 class done and the certificate back to Ms. Rutter, then you'll be eligible for the 2-point charge to plead guilty to that, and the other charge will be dismissed. Is that what you'd like to do, is come back then?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll put a note in here for our staff to that effect. And then I'm just going to send you right out front, and they're going to give you that new court date, and you'll get an email from Ms. Keller, which will describe the class options for you so that you can go to the link for that class once you've got the email from her. Any questions for me?
No, sir.
All right, right out front then. Thank you, Mr. Rutter.
Yep, so take a right to that course.
And Mr. Reynolds has returned, so should we go ahead and recall the next case, Mr. Reynolds?
Well, Your Honor, the individual I was speaking to, Mr. Elta Wheel, is thinking about our discussion, and he said he'd come back here in just a few moments.
Okay, so good enough. We'll wait to call that back up then. And then Ms. Keller or Mr. Reynolds, we have Mr. Schwartz who's waiting to speak with the prosecutor, so looks like Ms. Keller's going to do that. And do you think we're expecting Mr. Altawheel pretty quickly, or should I take off from the bench for a bit? You think?
I mean, he said 3 minutes.
Okay.
He has a CDL, so he's
Trying to think it all through, yep.
So.
That's fine. I can work up here from the bench for a moment or two or. So are we off the record? Okay, we have Ms. Keller back in the courtroom and Mr. Schwartz as well. Go ahead, Ms. Keller.
Yes, Your Honors, I've spoken to Mr. Swartz and he's explained to me the situation that occurred before he was pulled over. The deal that I've offered him, and it's my understanding that he's going to accept, is that if he takes the level 1 traffic class, he can plead to a 0-point seatbelt violation. I'd also like to ask for any reduction in fees as the court is able to do, as Mr. Swartz is undergoing a difficult custody battle and divorce right now.
Okay, thank you for that. Ms. Keller, so I can certainly take that into account. All right, Mr. Swartz, so obviously I told you the insurance charge has been dismissed. The other charge would be reduced to a 0-point charge if you were willing to take the online traffic class.
Yes, sure.
Is that what you'd like to do?
Yes, sure.
All right, so the charge will be changed. It'll be called failing to wear a seatbelt. That's what makes it a 0-point infraction. Allegedly occurring August 23rd of 2023 at 28th and Valmont. How do you plead to that charge, sir?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Accept that guilty plea. Is there anything that you'd like to share with me about the case before I do set the fine?
No, Honor, I think I kind of did a little verbiage with you before and.
You did.
That I don't need anymore.
All right, I'll take that into account, and obviously Ms. Keller's recommendation for a lower fine.
I mean, when I made a right turn, the full intersection, everyone was stopped at a stoplight. It was an unmarked car, cop car, and I looked to my left. I was pulling into a turn-only lane, everyone else was stopped. And from the distance, it looked like I drive on a regular basis, and I'm a good driver, good driving record. It looked like he had plenty of room. And I apologized to him immediately, said that I didn't feel that he felt like I impeded him. But I didn't think, it looked like he had plenty of room.
Okay. And of course, those are judgment calls, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
All right, so I'm going to just take a quick look at the incident report from the officer. The officer said you had a good attitude with them, so regardless of whether you disagreed, you at least did it in a polite way, so that's good. And I'm going to set the fine here a little bit lower than I typically would set it because of the circumstances described. It'll be an $85 fine. There'll be $30 in court costs, so $115 to pay the court, and then you'll have the class to complete. Yep. Are you able to pay the fine today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sir, I'll send you out front. They'll collect the fine, and then they're going to email to you a link to the class with the court date. As long as you have the certificate from the class back to us before that court date, you won't have to come back to court.
Okay, I'll make sure, I'm a teenager, make sure I can email it right.
Got somebody helping you with that?
I'm a dinosaur, kind of a velociraptor with the technology.
It's good to have teenagers around. All right.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Right out front.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Have a good day.
I just knocked on Mr. Alta Wheel's door just to let him know.
And that's fine. And Ms. Keller, I think we're done, except for the one that Mr. Reynolds is going to work with Mr. Altawheel.
The whole thing about that is he operates a little store that's really in one popular for cyclists.
Oh.
And his dog hangs out outside that store.
Word. Yes,
I spoke to the compliance. Talk to them and see what they said. So
Okay.
there is a way.
How long would you need?
I don't know.
3 weeks?
2 weeks.
You think so? Okay.
Today is what,
Today's the 13th, yeah.
yeah, so,
Be around 3 weeks, not exactly.
but do I have to appear? If I don't have to
Yeah.
appear. But if I do, I don't know.
If you have, you'll have to appear unless you get permission not to, yeah.
So,
Okay, Mr. Reynolds, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Eltawheel here, and he's got a CDL, and he needs some additional time to think about his options here. And he wants to talk to an attorney, so I believe we're gonna be jointly requesting about a 3-week continuance to allow that to occur.
Okay, and that's fine. We'll reset your case, Mr. Eltawheel, and you can come back on another date. Our clerk will get you that date in a few minutes. It'll be about 3 weeks out from now.
I wanted to ask you also because he was mentioning about the tree.
Yes.
The tree.
I described to Mr. Eltawheel that because he has a CDL, we wouldn't be able to offer him the 0-point offer because that doesn't get reported to the DMV, and that would put us in violation of the federal anti-masking laws. I told him that I would bring that up with you, sir, so that you would be able to confirm that that is the case, that if I said we're offering him a 0-pointer, that likely would not be accepted by the court.
That's right. Unless the prosecutor doesn't think they can prove the case, then they can't dismiss it or reduce it to a 0-point charge. Ethically, they're prohibited from doing that. And I'm ethically prohibited from accepting that kind of plea. So it's unfortunate because that means you're treated a little bit different than the people who don't have commercial driver's license, but that's the federal law and we have to comply with it.
Absolutely. No, I was, if I can share this with you, because improper lane change according to Colorado law, it will put me out of business if I get any ticket, as any serious ticket, because of how tough it is to have a ticket like improper lane change. And I need just to have some time to talk to an attorney.
I think that makes sense to talk to a lawyer first before you make a decision. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to give you that new court date here in just a few minutes. And then when you come back, you'll have the opportunity to decide how you want to proceed at that point after talking to a lawyer. And the lawyer can join you in court. If you decide you want to hire a lawyer, you can do that.
Do I have to be represented? I can be represented, or do I have to be in court also?
I could allow you to appear by Zoom video but you would still have to appear in front of me. I had some people that are appearing by Zoom today. You could do that, but you'll need to appear one way or the other.
Okay.
Would you rather appear by Zoom video?
No, I just wanted to know my options.
Oh, okay.
Because I spoke to some attorneys like 2 weeks ago, and they said I didn't have to appear, so I just wanted to hear it from you.
Well, okay, let me tell you that if a lawyer is appearing on your behalf, and the lawyer asks me for permission, they can tell you don't have to show up as long as I give the lawyer permission. Most of the time I give them that permission, all right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
So if your lawyer says, yeah, the judge has said it's okay for me to appear on your behalf, then that's fine. Does that make sense?
And one more question,
Sure.
if you don't mind, because he said about the fines in case I go with the plea. Just so I know, I prepare myself.
I can't tell you what the fine will be because I don't know what you're pleading guilty to, and I haven't looked at the summons or the action or the reports for the case. You've heard that typically it's between $100 and $150 that people have to pay, so that's the range that you could consider. And then if people are struggling financially, I can sometimes reduce it a little bit and give them time to pay it as well. Any other questions for me?
No, I appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll just have him make his way out front. If you'll go out front, sir, our staff will be with you in a few minutes. So just the folks right at, you walk out the door to the right, they'll get you your court date.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
All right, and I'm gonna go get